Hey everybody, this is Ted Rusk again. We'll welcome you back to another episode of chilling. Let's just call it chilling, because get your weed together. Okay, you ready? Put it on pause now if you have to. Don't get the show started without taking a toke with me. All right? I'm going to give you a couple seconds here. Get your weed over there. You may be smoking a big old bong. You got to put a golf ball sized piece in that bong pipe. Yeah, this is some pretty powerful stuff here. So can you guys really tell the difference between indica and hybrid sativa? I don't think I can tell much difference. I generally buy hybrid or sativa. I don't know. I can't tell much difference. I get stoned either way. So I don't know. Is it worth paying? Tell you what, it is worth paying for. Shake. I see these guys buy these big buds. They pay a premium for these big buds, and then they put them in a grinder and grind them all up and shake, so they can roll them easier. Like, why don't you just buy the shake? It's a discount anyway. Same with smalls. Those little small buds that are great for these little one hitters. You just put a little something about the size of a BB in there every so often. So, Sunday, 11 o'clock in California. It'd be about 2 o'clock out in Indiana. So what's good to talk about today while we're smoking weed? First time we ever got really buzzed? Yeah, let's hear some of them stories down in the comments. Give me your first time you ever got really buzzed. Not the first time you smoked necessarily, because I think most people will agree that smoking the first time or two doesn't really hit you. It's going to be, it might be your second, third, fourth time in. All of a sudden that stuff's built up in you, and it wham, it hits you like a hammer on the head, or a fish hook in the back of your neck, as some people want to describe it, like something's pulling back at your neck. Well, I'll tell you, first time I really got a buzz, well, I can't remember. I don't think I really got total effects of this. If you smoke weed when you're really young, because you know how you are when you're young, your life's kind of just you're just being told your parents what to do, and you're not doing a lot of thinking and registering what I'm doing and all. It's just a different life. Like before you're 3 years old, usually I think they say, memories start getting made about 3 or so. I'd say about like that. I can remember when I was 3, I would have been about 3.5. My brother went to kindergarten. And at 3.5, I had to stay on my block, my city block. But I could go down, I can make my way all the way around the block if I wanted to. But I could at least go down one side and up the other side, and I could pick my brother up coming home from kindergarten. I remember pedaling so hard, tried to get him home so fast. I was going like a wild man. And by by the time I was maybe 5 or 6, I think I could cross the street and pretty much go anywhere with my brother, and he was allowed to go anywhere anyway. So, yeah, we was downtown Washington. I mean, we were eating at the White Steamer back in the day when, we had a little bit of an allowance. I think maybe it was a quarter a week or something. It wasn't much, but we were kind of minimalist anyway. And we also earned money. We went out looking for pop bottles, and man, you could rake in. I mean, you bring in 20 pop bottles in a day at 3 cents each, man. You're talking about eating a meal at the White Steamer and having leftover. And yeah. So I guess I smoked weed the first time would have been about when I was, well, I'll tell you when it would have been. It would have been when Chicago Transit Authority came out with the 8-track that has 25 or 6 to 4 on it. All right, you guys listen to that now. That 25 or 6 to 4. You just pause this. You pause my show right now. Pull you up another screen. Go to YouTube. Chicago 25 or 6 to 4. I can't remember where that one's done, but it'll be one of them that pulls up at the top. Man, I mean, you talk about a 6-year-old kid listening to stuff like that when he just took a toke off of one of them left-handed cigarettes. Because you see, my friend, well, most of our friends, me and my brother were the oldest of our family, but we only had a family of 3 anyway. The rest of our friends were the youngest of families with 3 kids, 5 or 6 kids, and another family with 7 kids. And my friends were the youngest ones, which means there's already one of their brothers or sisters has already left the house already. And this was my friend right across the street, Phil. We called him Phil. Phil Wise, one of the smartest kids we ever met. And yeah, he was one of the youngest. His sister was younger than him. And he had 2 older sisters and 2 older brothers. The oldest brother just got out of high school. Back in those days, man, you're talking this 1968. I don't know. He got lucky, got on with his dad worked at the railroad, so he might have got on with the railroad, but he got one of those good paying, probably a union job, and he was still living at home. So, he'd give his mom some money every week, and well, he got a brand new Camaro and had the best weed around. And he always had an ashtray up in his room where we'd go up there and hang out and play music. He had a great stereo system. And there's a big ashtray. And a pack of Salems. Everybody was smoking Salems back then. There was always a Zippo lighter around, or a book of matches. A lot of times the guy might take his Zippo lighter with him, but leave some matches. There was always matches around. Yeah, we damn near carried them because they would give away free at every gas station had books of matches laying out. So I was exposed to stuff at a pretty young age, me and my brother both, because my brother, he was always there. He's a year and a half older than me, meaning he was always there taking care of me. And so I remember the first time a guy offered me a cigarette, it was I was just in first grade. We're going home from school, and my brother's with me. And these guys would get up to the top of the hill. These guys are like junior high guys, you know, something like that. They weren't even in our little grade school down below. They were up from the high school. Junior high or high school, one of the two. He pulled out a Salem cigarette, handed it to me, and I just looked at my brother. I said, "Is that okay?" And he said, "Yeah, let's try it." So we lit it up for us and everything, and well, we smoked it. And you know, my mom probably had to smell that on us. You know, when we got home, God dang, we just puffed away a whole Salem cigarette, you know. And anyway, our friend, they had cigarettes everywhere. And our other friend, his dad smoked and drank vodka, so we got to taste vodka when we was young. And my one friend's dad made wine, so we pulled the little balloon off the top and poured a little bit out and took a drink of it. And beer, yeah, there was always beer in the basement. We popped them tops off and sip on it. I didn't care for the flavor at that age. You're not really big on beer taste. But anyway, that ashtray was always full of left-handed cigarettes. That's twisters, you know, or joints as we call them. By the 80s, that's what I always call them, is a joint. It's just some zigzag paper, maybe 1 1/4 inches. Nice smooth shake, or you know, got all the seeds and stems out of it. Roll that baby up and let her rip. So yeah, left-handed cigarettes. Okay, now here's one memory I have very, very clearly from right at that same period. Probably involved going there and smoking a left-handed cigarette. And of course we smoked Salem's after that. But anyway, my friend we ran into the room, and I remember he was barefoot, because I remember he did this all with his toes. He pushed the power button on the 8-track player, which was basically just a big console. Like the 8-track player was usually it's its own machine, I think, and the receiver thing for the receiver for the AM FM was up above it. Then you'd usually the turntable was even more separate, you know, on the very top where you could spin an album. But anyway, 8 tracks was the new thing, and this kid was, like I say, the oldest brother. He had a good job, a brand new Camaro and Cadillac sound system. I mean, you can't imagine back in them days. He actually had pairs of speakers, you know. It wasn't just a box with one speaker in it. 2 gigantic speakers. This kid's mom and dad both worked. We're over there on a summer day, and he's like, he pushes that button, off and on button. He said, "Listen to this music. Listen, I want you to hear this one song," or something to that effect. "Listen to this." And he took his toe again and pushed the 8-track in, and it starts playing a song. He's like, "Oh, that's right." Click, and then he listens, and oh, click, and then the song's ending, just ending. He said, "Oh yeah, here it is. Listen to this." Da-na-na-na-na, 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 da-na-na. These horns come in, and man, you're talking Chicago 25 or 6 to 4. Now keep in mind, across the street in our house, Dad was listening to Glenn Miller and things like that, you know, In the Mood, and you know, that's great music. I listen to that stuff today, but it's a far cry from Chicago, man. That lead guitar player, I think his name is, what is it, Calf or something like that. I mean, that's they just set the standard on guitar solos. That song right there, you know, and with the horns in it and everything. And the song is about kind of about nothing really. I think it was said that they were staying up late and called the front desk and was asking about getting something. He said, "Oh, you can't get that until till 6 o'clock in the morning or something." Well, what time is it? Oh, it's like 25 or 6 to 4, something like that. What a good name. Good name for a song. 2506 to 4. Yeah, and that, when you put weed in your system. Oh, by the way, I'm thinking about time we toke again. Well, we've been running 15 minutes already. God dang, I always toke about every 15 minutes. I probably use weed more than I should. So this is getting to the time where smoking weed that early made me appreciate music. And the only bad thing was we didn't get to keep using weed. If we would have stayed living in the same house, we probably would have been smoking weed all the time with our friends and whatnot. But we didn't. We moved out to the country, and after that point, man, we were cut off from everything, man. Tobacco and alcohol. I mean, our parents didn't drink or smoke. The nearest neighbor is, you can walk to her house. I mowed her grass for her and whatnot, but yeah, we just didn't have, especially weed. Didn't know anything about that anymore. But we're in the 70s. We moved to the country, I think, in 74. I would have been 11. And then, 6 years later, I was turning 17, and I got a job at the cheese plant up there in Illinois. There's a little cheese factory that we made cheese, man. Oh, we made good cheese in there, man. That was the best cheese I've ever had. And man, that was a lot of fun. It's just a bunch of hard work in a really hot, sweaty environment. But fuck, I think most everybody in there was stoned all the time. If you get stoned before you work, OSHA ain't gonna like this one, okay? But the fact is, you need to get stoned on some jobs, which I would say most jobs. You really need to get stoned before you perform the job, because it helps you concentrate that much more on what you're doing. You won't make as many mistakes and, things of that nature. That's why they do it in the tree service, man. You're never going to find a bunch of tokers. You will find some tweakers there. Those girls, it's a different deal, man. You ruin your body and your mind and your teeth. Well, I don't really want to talk much about that. Ruin your teeth in the tree business. That's, a big limb caught me across the ear, knocked out 3 teeth right in the front. Like that. That's pretty common in tree work, is every once in a while something will go a different way than what you thought when you cut it. Anyways, so we're talking about working in the cheese plant. Yeah. One of the guys came up to me and he said, he just pulled a joint out, asked me to put my hand out. He put that in there and he said, "Here, go try this." I'm like, "Well, what is it, man?" And he's like, "That's weed. That's some of my own homegrown." I'm like, "Well, that's pretty fucking cool, So I I took it. I was trying to think to myself, where in the hell, uh, where am I going to smoke this? Who am I going to smoke this with? I mean, that's what I was wondering. So I asked around, finally found a friend that would smoke with me. He said he knew about weed and whatnot. And I smoked it. It was just one joint, and I don't think I ever quite got the full effect of it. I think I got like a, you could imagine one fairly small joint, actually was what I'd call it, is like a pin joint. One pin joint between two people. We probably lit it up more than once. Maybe we smoked it halfway and then came back a little bit later and had the other half. But, or maybe more than that, maybe just a couple tokes each time. And what I was thinking was it's not hitting me hard, especially after being hit hard. I realized that wasn't anything. But what I noticed on the first few tokes was when you're listening to music, you start hearing the speakers, the stereo speakers. You'll hear an instrument over there playing in that one speaker, but it's not playing this one. And I'm like, that's when you realize how cool stereo sound is. And that's why you need stereo sound if you're going to be, smoking weed. Everybody deserves to have stereo sound in America, right? That's everything we need to hear, man. It's just the good old cranking music, cranking it up. So anyway, there I was, 17 years old, and I had a friend and smoked weed, and man, I smoked for a long time, but I did quit somewhere along the line in I want to say the late 80s. By that time, and for sure by 91, me and my brother bought our first apartment building and got into that business. We weren't smoking then, and I often wondered what would have happened if we would have been smoking. I think we would have bought a lot more properties and we'd have been a lot bigger, because I was always saying, like, let's go look in Albany, Illinois. Oh, you don't want, you got 10 units over there, you're always going to have somebody bitching. Yeah, you just plan on 2 days a week, you're going to be in Albany. 2 days a week, you'll be in Mount Carmel or Princeton or Vincennes, or, you just got to take this like a serious job, is what I was saying. I think if we were smoking weed, I'd have probably convinced my brother, let's just go at this thing full blast. But it didn't matter. We found that tree service, and then we mixed tree business and apartments together. And my brother handled the apartment work, I handled tree work, and now we had a good fast cash business that paid well. But we also had the security and the solid income of rental property, which is almost never a bad investment. And so anyway, there is, gosh, how many years would that be that I didn't smoke weed? All the way through the 90s. Probably stopped in the mid to late 80s, and did not smoke in the 90s or the 2000s. And then I think it was 2014. I don't know if California, I was already living in California then, and I don't know if California maybe passed something different. But I mean, at the time, I never bitched about it. It was called medical marijuana. You had to get a medical card once a year. Okay, that means all you do is go into this little shop that's in one of them little strip malls that sells insurance. Right next to it is get your I can't remember what it's called now. Your card, your medical marijuana card, basically. And you go in there and you just, you pay $40 or something like that. guaranteed to pass, So you knew the result already. They're going to give you what you want. Just tell them you need something to help you sleep at night. So, you get on there, you Skype with this guy. That first one was a doctor. He was like this, he had a mask on up to here, the hat down to here, sunglasses, and he's like, yeah, how can I help you? And I'm like, yeah, I can't sleep very good, and I always notice that smoking a little indica before bedtime always works pretty good for me. And he's like, yeah, that does. He said, okay, just buy the best stuff so you don't have to smoke as much of it. I said, oh yeah, I always buy the best. There you go. I'm covered for a year. Okay, now you can get on the website. Can't remember the name of that one. I used them. That was the only one I ever used. It was delivery and everything. Or you can get on there. It's lab tested, and so you could see this. I want this weed here. It's a sativa. It's 28% THC. I'll take a quarter of that, and also send me a couple of them drinks. I was big on those drinks. What do you call them? Well, now it's called Uncle Arnie's. It's a little tiny bottle. I think I got one of those in here. If I could show you, maybe. Cannabis Quencher. That was the other one. That's the one I used to drink all the time. Now it's more like this guy. Here we go. I found one. Just be careful when you take this stuff, man. This stuff will knock you on your butt. Uncle Arnie's, this is 100 milligrams plus energy, so caffeine too. I'm telling you, if you're an experienced weed smoker, take you about 20, 30 milligrams. Half if you're really brave, and see what happens. If you can work your way up to 80 or 90%, or 80 or 90 grams, milligrams, would be basically almost this entire bottle, you're going to be buzzing in a different way than you ever have. I've never tried anything like acid or mushrooms, but I think if you drink a bottle of this, it would probably be similar to that. Because I mean, I was sitting in my single-story house. Oh, that was from an edible. That wasn't a drink even. That was a cookie. And I was trying to remember where the stairs were to get upstairs. And finally, I concluded over and over again. I kept concluding that I don't have it upstairs. This is a single-story house. Anyways, that was my deal with edibles the first time. So be careful, just do them when you're going to stay at home that day. If you're going to be at home most of the day, yeah, then do that. Otherwise, no. So that's my experience. My first buzz would be, again, I may have been buzzing when I was a kid. That's why I thought Chicago's 25 or 64 was so cool, because I was buzzing. But I can't say for sure. When I smoked the first joint that I was given when I was 17, I noticed the music bouncing around, but I wasn't buzzing. Well, then another guy in the cheese plant, he told me to stop by when I got off of work. He lived right there, not too far from the cheese plant. So I swung by there on the way home, and he said, let's smoke a joint, man. He fired up this just little pencil. I mean, not a pencil size, but a toothpick size. I call them, what do we call them? Pen joints. Not like a pen, ink pen, but like a needle. They're really small. But I only took a couple hits of that. And I mean, within minutes, I felt like there was something was pulling on the back of my neck. It was like kind of burning or something. And my friend once said he felt like there was a fish hook in the back of his neck pulling. And I'm like, yeah, I remember that feeling. That's exactly the way I felt. That's about the only thing I can remember, other than my eyes got really closed, and I just went into like a, pull my sunglasses off so I could do an accurate reenactment. But I just kind of, where my arms are just sitting there, and my friend, somebody knocked on the door, and he told him to come in, and that guy sat down, and I can't remember who he was, but anyway, they started talking, and I don't remember much. I wasn't getting in the conversation. I was just sitting there, and they started talking about vulcanizing tires and stuff, and when you're stoned, you hear vulcanizing. I'm like, well, I've never heard that word before. What's that about? Well, then this guy started explaining, oh yeah, vulcanizing is when they, patch your tire, and then they kind of light a fire inside it to burn kind of to melt everything together. And that was vulcanizing. And then I realized, and my friend, he looked over there, and he said, hey, no, and he hit the dog. The dog had grabbed the joint, and he got to roll up an extra joint for me to take home with me. And I was just sitting there holding it in my fingers down here on my lap. That dog had come over there, pulled it out of my fingers, and was starting to chew it. And this guy saw him doing it, and I was like, oh my God, what happened? He said, oh, don't worry, I'll re-roll it. So he rolled her up again for me, and that's what she wrote. And so that was my first buzz. That was the first really good buzz. And then they remained like that. Not quite as strong as that one time, but a lot of times that music was bouncing around, man. Oh yeah, you turn on some music, and you just notice things in a song that you've heard, already heard a bunch of times, and now you notice something new in it. That's what buzzing was. Now, I don't know, as you get older, well, one thing you don't get much is the paranoia. Some people say, oh, I had a bad experience. The more you use and the older you get, the less you'll have that. Mainly it's, you just want to see if you can get a little higher than you were last time. And that's why I'm always smoking the best weed, and I'm sometimes putting a little wax on top of that. And I smoke a little bit more often than maybe I should, but that's the way it is, and I think I'm about ready to go get me a little lunch. Start to get hungry. So, well, anyway, been a good show, pretty much about nothing, right? No, your first buzz. Let's call this about your first buzz. Put down in the comments about your first buzz and spell it out really good. Okay, give me a play-by-play of what really happened, and then we'll do another show on something like that. All right, take care. I'll see you next time. Keep on chilling. God bless.